Good morning, everybody. We're here to talk some more about CDL and matters. Now, I am a school bus driver, and this channel has a lot of school bus sort of content on it, but this video is not going to be specifically about school bus CDL. It's going to be generally about the CDL process, and particularly how to instantly fail your CDL road test. Because there are a couple of ways that's easy to do that, and some ways it's less easy. And this is going to be complete with stories from yesterday. So yesterday I took one of our new trainees to one of the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission sites for a road test. And she failed. And while she was failing, I also got a chance to watch a couple of drivers from Easy Wheels, which is a CDL school, and another driver from a different school working on their road tests. One of them failed as well. For a similar reason to why our candidate failed. So in the road test, there's a couple of different scoring angles. The main one, well, let's talk about the pre-trip because this is where they failed. The pre-trip is the first section of the 3 sections of the road test, and generally the scoring is done by points. You need an accumulation of points of things that you correctly discuss during the pre-trip demonstration. And if you have enough points, then you pass. However, there's another slice of the scoring which is much more severe. So, what was I just going to say? The pre-trip. Yeah, so before we start getting into that, the pre-trip, one thing that everybody should be aware of, and if you have good instructors in a good school, hopefully this will be more than obvious to you, but the pre-trip isn't really about, the pre-trip at the road test isn't really about you inspecting the vehicle. It's about you demonstrating, performing for the examiner that you are capable of inspecting this vehicle. So some of the things on the pre-trip inspection you will actually be inspecting, and some of the other ones you'll just be talking about. And the ones that either way, you're going to have to narrate and discuss what you're doing. Now, these examiners are human beings, and some of them are more demanding than others. Some of them are more picky than others, have more specific expectations about what they will consider satisfying or not satisfying the requirements. They're also human beings. They might be pissed off that day. And so don't, one of the rules is don't piss them off more than they already might be pissed off. Like, approach them, with maximum amount of respect and kind of deference. One of the other things is, I'm going to talk about the directions and the scripts that they're going to give you for performing the thing, I guess, later. But let's go back to the issue at hand, which is failing the pre-trip. So in addition to the scoring system of points that you need to, talk about things in a certain way, there is the brakes. Now, our candidate was coming in with a hydraulic brake vehicle, so she's not going to have air brakes on her license. But don't go away because I've got relevant stuff to talk about for air brakes as well. So, I know that the air brake test is critical, and you have to do it perfectly, as opposed to a lot of the other sections. If you miss something, it's just you don't get the point for that, but it doesn't count against you per se. But for the brakes, the air brakes, it has to be done just according to the formula. And if you don't do that, then they stop the test. You fail. You can't not do the brakes correctly. What I didn't realize is apparently the same thing goes for the hydraulic brake test. And so the hydraulic brake test, as far as the leaks for the service brakes, the first thing you do before you start the vehicle, this is our brake bus I'm sitting in, I can't do it. But the buses that we have electric booster motors for the brake system. And that works even when the engine's not running, when the key's not in or anything. If you kick the brake pedal, the boost motor turns on. You can hear kind of a groaning pump sound. So the first thing you want to do before you start the bus, a hydraulic brake vehicle, is kick the brake pedal, assuming it has a boost system, and you'll hear that motor, and you'll say, I hear that my booster motor is working. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is the hydraulic brake leak test. So you pump the brake pedal 3 times, and you hold it down for 5 seconds, and the brake pedal shouldn't move. You're confirming that the brake system doesn't have any leaks in the hydraulic fluid. Okay, well, our candidate sort of did that, but pumped the brakes apparently, from what I remember her telling me. And she didn't say that she was holding it for 5 seconds. Now, I didn't clarify whether she actually held it for 5 seconds or not, but from what I understand, the examiner told her, you didn't say that you were holding it for 5 seconds. So that is how you fail the hydraulic brake system test, at least with that examiner on that day. So, as you're preparing for your pre-trip, give special attention whether you're on air brakes or hydraulic brakes. Give special attention to the brake section. Practice it. And this goes for the whole test, but especially the brakes. You have to do it according to the formula. And another thing we experienced on this person's test is, the CDL manual in New Jersey. Anyway, I'm talking from experience in New Jersey. I don't have experience in other states. The manual gives you pretty specific ways of describing things. And you have to do that. It's you're checking things that are cracked, broken, or damaged, or dented, or bent, or leaking in certain ways. Mention those things. No missing fasteners, loose or missing parts, that kind of thing. No illegal welds, no illegal stickers on your windshield, etc. There might be other special language you have to say. Like this examiner yesterday, when our candidate tested the defroster, afterward the examiner said you should put your hands where the air comes out to confirm that the air is coming out of the. So that isn't specifically mentioned in the manual. It makes sense, and it's something that I do when I'm training candidates, just as a matter of course, like, hey, let's confirm it actually works. You can hear the motor turning, and you can hear air rushing, but to actually put your hand there makes sense. But this examiner actually specifically mentioned doing that. Yeah. And what else? Okay, so that's failing the pre-trip. Other stuff about the pre-trip. Oh, so yeah, the other person that was there with a tractor trailer, they were doing their air brake test, fanning off the pressure. They tested their alarms. They were going to test the emergency brakes, that the spring brakes activated. The plungers popped out for the tractor and trailer brakes. And the way he was describing it is he saw the plunger move. Now, I wouldn't clarify. Maybe one moved and one didn't move. I don't know what happened, but exactly, I wasn't there, and I just overheard him talking to his instructor. But it moved, but it didn't completely pop out. And he said, gee, I wish I had continued to pump down the brakes. And then, now again, I don't know if one did, one didn't. That would be an obvious fail. So he failed on the air brake test. Another person there who was talking about a previous attempt where he stalled the vehicle a couple times, went out on the road with the examiner, and the examiner didn't immediately fail him, but he did it more than once, apparently, and that failed for that. So, I don't know what to say about that. Just practice with your clutching. I guess, if you're used to starting in fourth gear and you start stalling a lot, use a lower gear. I don't know. So I'm in the process of working on my Class A, but I haven't actually gotten in a vehicle yet. I do have a Class B with manual transmission, so I did drive a manual truck, just not a tractor trailer, and it was only a 6-speed. It wasn't dual range transmission. CDL, road test, air brakes. Yeah, the other thing is make sure that you're always, you got your vehicle secure. So if you're doing any kind of brake test, like with the air brake test, mention, I'm putting my truck in first gear before you build up your air pressure, then you disengage the clutch, put her in first, and then turn the engine off, release the clutch. Okay, my truck is secure now. You can, release your brakes, turn the key to on, and go with your air brake test. But you're kind of mentioning how you got your vehicle secure, and if you need to mention about. We'll see, in New Jersey we do the CDL test is an applied brake test, so you're never just kind of like, the vehicle is never floating, so to speak, but let's see if an automatic transmission vehicle, and your state, let's say, requires a static test, which is you don't have the service brake applied. Well, in that case, you need to chock the wheels, because there's nothing holding your vehicle in place if you don't have the manual transmission and you're in gear. Now, I don't know how the automated manual transmissions work as far as if they have an option like putting it in gear with the engine off. I don't know how that works, but our buses have regular old school Allison, conventional automatic transmissions. So those would not hold the vehicle steady if the brakes were not applied in some way. Yeah. Okay. So road test, fun stuff. Ask me your questions about the road test, or relate your experiences about your road test, your friends' road tests. Like I say, I've signed the contract on my CDL Class A tractor trailer training. I haven't started yet. I'm waiting to get my schedule for the training sessions. I've been studying the pre-trip and also to some extent the basic skills, the maneuvers. Before you're in the vehicle, there's only a limited amount you can do, but I'm trying to learn what the reference points are going to be for the offset backing and the parallel parking ahead of time, so I can kind of get in with as much background knowledge as possible. There's a guy on YouTube, I think it's My Trucking Skills, also publishes an app, which is like kind of a mini simulator for maneuvering, and there's all different maneuvers on the app, but there's also specifically a CDL road test section. You can specify the length of the trailer you want to use for the simulation, so you can use a full 53 footer, or you can use a 28 foot and there's in between ones also, but the 28 foot is I think what the schools typically use because it's easier. Don't make things harder on yourself than you need to. So day cab, 28 foot trailer is what I see schools usually using, not exclusively, but usually, like the big schools. So yeah, and that goes for, any of y'all. Do as much prep work as you can. Get your permit by yourself. I speak for myself here. I don't know what your experience can be like, but I found no problem getting the permit myself before approaching the school. Like, schools will sell you prep programs for the written test to get your permit, but in my experience, that wouldn't have been the slightest bit necessary. Get the CDL manual from your state. Do the practice courses online. We'll show you exactly the kind of questions to expect. Multiple choice questions. Learn the systems on your vehicle. Learn how the air brakes work. Learn how the coupling system works. Like, conceptually, understand how it works. There's a fifth wheel. The fifth wheel, has locking jaws. The apron sits on top of the skid plate. The fifth wheel is on a platform. It's bolted to the frame. It has a release arm. The release arm has a safety catch. Learn how the landing gear works, what low and high gear means. The CDL manual will give you that information. It's probably not the easiest way to digest it, but it's there. Learn how the air brakes work, primary and secondary, how the emergency and service. The thing that I found the most challenging about the combination vehicle written test was the service and emergency lines, and how, let's say disconnecting, if there's a loss of seal on the emergency line, on the service line, what effect that has. And I found that confusing. So learn the air brake system, and especially the coupled air brake system, the combination vehicle, how that works, and what the failure modes are for that. Do the prep work before you come to your lessons. There's plenty of videos on YouTube of people actually going through lessons, shifting lessons, maneuvering lessons, specifically preparing for the exercises on the CDL road test, namely offset backing, parallel parking, alley dock. Parallel parking a tractor trailer is, I don't expect people, 99% of tractor trailer drivers are probably never going to have to parallel park that vehicle, but it's on the road test. So learn the reference points. I haven't done a tractor trailer yet, but I train school bus drivers on parallel parking. And go slow, turn the wheel all the way, the steering wheel, stop, as you make your one pivot to the next, stop, turn the steering wheel all the way, and then slow until you get your next reference points. If you learn the reference points for your vehicle, and definitely use the vehicle you're going to use in the real test. We've got Thomas buses, we've got international buses in our spot. We always use the internationals for the road tests, but they maneuver differently. And the old internationals versus the new have different turning radiuses, different, the steering angle is different. So don't mix and match. You learn the reference points that you're going to use of the vehicle you're going to use on the road test, especially for parallel parking, because you're never going to do that, with your school bus or your tractor trailer. But once, I have to, when I start with a new trainee and I take them to the yard for the first time to practice parallel parking, I have to review it first myself. But once you nail those reference points, you can do it repeatedly. And that's the thing. If you can't do it 3 times in a row clean, do figure out why that is. Because if you're going slow, if you're doing things consistently the same time, using consistent reference points, you should be able to bang out consistent maneuvers. Now, tractor trailer, I imagine, is probably more challenging because there's more places where there's the pivot in the middle of the vehicle. So I can't speak from experience for that, but at least for a straight vehicle, if you got your reference points, you should be able to nail that out. If you can't, your trainer hopefully will, make you do it make you practice it. And if they don't make you practice, ask, I want to get better at this. I want to practice again. What am I doing wrong? And again, like the thing that takes the most time for people to absorb is go slow, stop when you're pivoting, and you're ready to pivot to the next. You've swung your nose out. You're ready to swing it in for the parallel parking. Stop, turn the wheel, and then go slowly again. Don't turn the wheel while you're moving, because you're going to throw off your reference points. The way the reference points works is your vehicle should be as close to exactly the same spot every time as possible. If you turn the wheel while you're moving, any minute change in the rate that you turn the wheel, how fast you turn the wheel, or the speed the vehicle's moving, is going to change where you are. And a little bit of change in a maneuver like that is going to throw you into a position where you now have to make adjustments in the middle of the maneuver. And on the road test, you have room to make adjustments in terms of the number of points that you would have to spend, so to speak, in order to do a pull-up, but you don't need that. In a straight vehicle, you can do the parallel parking with no extra moves. So good luck, and have a great day. Good luck on your CDL.